Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about the polyvagal view of depression. It's a very personal issue for me because I have suffered from depression for most of my life. And it wasn't until I discovered polyvagal theory about 4 years ago that I really got a handle on how to improve my condition. And let me show you this in visual form to start with. So we're talking about depression in the traditional view versus the polyvagal view of the nervous system. So the traditional view sees depression as a result of negative thoughts. And the polyvagal view is that depression is a result of a nervous system that can't find safety, states of safety, meaning you can't access a feeling of safety. I'm going to show you in detail how that works in a minute. Depression is treated by talk therapy and medication. That's the traditional view. And the polyvagal view is that depression is treated by practices that build up the individual's capacity to feel safe with other people and in their environment. Now, I'm not saying that drugs or talk therapy are worthless, but it's a different lens, a very different lens. Because for years, decades, almost 30 years, I tried mostly talk therapy, other therapies as well, but mostly that. Some drugs that I didn't last very long on the drugs because they made me feel really out of sorts otherwise. So let's look at the polyvagal version of what happens. So first of all, let's define depression from a polyvagal point of view using this visual. We have essentially three different sections of your nervous system, each of which is at a different time in our evolutionary development. So the first one is this red area here. That's the lizard brain. And this is the brain, the part of our nervous system that shuts us down and makes us immobile when the threat is nearby. Then there's the yellow, which is that's the limbic or mammalian brain. And that's action oriented, to fight or run, right? And then the newest part of the nervous system is the safety, which is social safety, actually, is what it really is. And that's the newest one and that's the higher brain. Okay, so from a polyvagal perspective, depression comes from the red. So low energy, low motivation, lots of fear, and you don't feel like confident at all. You're just overwhelmed. Okay, so there's this energy from that system that is controlling you when you're depressed. Why? Because your unconscious feels like that's the best way to survive. So it's a survival strategy. Now, most likely, if you're depressive, it could be largely because of experiences from your past. That was true for me. Some of it's probably hardwired to some degree, but a large percentage for me was past experiences. So if you're depressed, what it means is that your subconscious, your neuroception, if you're going to speak polyvagal terms, keeps deciding that the best bet for you is to be down here and freeze or shut down. Now, that's automatic, right? That's subconscious. Now, the cure from a polyvagal perspective is to increase your ability to access safety states when you're social. Now, I think most people that have trouble with depression will admit that depression makes it hard to socialize. Why? Well, because you can't access the green, which is the safety state, which you have to be safe when you're social. So from a polyvagal perspective, what's going on is that you don't have full access to your nervous system in an adaptive way. And what you need is practices and therapies that help you navigate your body sensations so that you can find your pathway back to being safe while you're with other people and with yourself. But it's primarily a social challenge when you're depressed. I hope that helps you understand a little bit better how polyvagal frames these things. And just to kind of put it into perspective is that in the polyvagal point of view, you don't need to label it. You could call all kinds of different depressive disorders, or you could just say that the person doesn't have access to states of safety and needs help finding those pathways in their nervous system. It's pretty simple. It doesn't mean it's simple to fix, but I actually found that explanation extremely helpful for me when I first started to study polyvagal and understand how it connected to my own experience. Please stay tuned for future videos where I'll discuss in more detail how I've used specific polyvagal informed therapies and practices to help ease my depression and manage it successfully. This would include techniques such as somatic experiencing, which you can do on your own and with other people. The Wim Hof method, which is the cold exposure, incremental cold exposure to build resilience. That one I've actually applied in a very committed way in the last year, and the results have been quite impressive. So I will look forward to sharing those results and techniques with you in future videos. So stay tuned.